Morweni manene na manene kazi nam kele kile kubo ngom kribelo imbeti mangrindi eyetu ngum nomeva u Xolisani Ndongeni o za kulwa no mfana wa se America en Nicaragua u Ernesto Mercado. Masi Kazulule Umlo Apa. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. On Saturday, our own Nomeva Xolisani Ndongeni is going to take on the young, unbeaten upstart, a guy who many think is a future star, and I'm talking about Ernesto Mercado. He is an American, but the fight is happening in Nicaragua. If you want to see the breakdown of a fight, please stick around. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Xolisani Ndongeni finally has got a fight, but he's traveling all the way to Nicaragua to do it. Now, he's fighting a kid by the name of Ernesto Mercado. This kid is 10-0 with 10 knockouts, and it's a young kid that a lot is expected for. But fighting Xolisani Ndongeni, it is a step up for him. So if you look at the fight purely on paper, and you look at Ernesto Mercado's record, 10-0, 10 knockouts. He's been as far as 7 rounds in his career. He's 21 years old. And you look at Nomeva's record. He's got 31 wins of 18 knockouts and only 2 defeats. Then it looks like a fight where a young upstart may be bit off more than he can chew. And it's a good opportunity for an experienced veteran like Ndongeni to just put him back in his place. That's what I thought when I looked at the records on paper. You know, if you look at Mercado, he's fought fighters that are some of them were decent with winning records, but they were not anything more than what Ndongeni has faced. If we look at Xolisani Ndongeni's record, he's a former South African champion, he's a former IBO and WBF world champion. We know those organizations aren't major belts. But he also, in one of his losses, he fought Devin Haney, who is now the undisputed lightweight champion. And Devin Haney, we can safely say, is an elite level fighter. So losing on points to a guy like Devin Haney is no disgrace. But in his other loss, he fought the current South African champion, and that's of course Prince Dlomo. I'm always confusing him with Ndlovu, Prince Dlomo. He's a current South African junior welterweight champion. He's a guy who's had an up and down career, so Ndongeni was supposed to take care of him, and he was winning a fight and got caught by a single shot and knocked clean out. So that is what happened with Xolisani Ndongeni, but since then he's won 5 fights straight, 4 of them by way of stoppage. The last one, he was an impressive knockout up in Konsong, a former world title challenger who couldn't get out of the first round against Josh Taylor. But safe to say, Xolisani Ndongeni is vastly more experienced. He's been in and against a better class of opponent. And if you just look at Ernesto Mercado on paper, then Ndongeni should be able to give us youngster a boxing lesson and cause an upset. Now, Mercado, he was born in California in America. He's American, but his parents came from Nicaragua. I think hence, therefore, why this fight is taking place where his roots are in Nicaragua. So both fighters are actually traveling, but it's going to be a very pro-Mercado crowd. Now, we all know that what Xolisani Ndongeni can do. He's a physically strong sort of fighter. You know, you can see it if you stand next to him. Very likable guy as well. I've met him before. And he's one of the guys in South African boxing, I think, that really market his personal brand well. You know, I always say Ndongeni and Kevin Lerena are the 2 guys right now in South African boxing that really knows how to market themselves as a brand. And a likable guy, you've got to root for him. And he can box a bit, he can brawl a bent. He's got respectable power, I would say. But if we look at the guys he's fought recently that he looked good against, yes, they fought some names like Kong Song that fought Josh Taylor, But then the guy that also went the distance against him is somebody who has stoppages on his record, and he went the distance against Ndongeni there in the ESPN Africa show. So I think Xolisani Ndongeni, he punches with enough power to get respect as a junior welterweight, but I don't think he's a one-and-done knockout puncher. And he's been in many more situations than Ernesto Mercado has. So he should. We know more about Ndongeni than we know about Mercado at this stage. And then, I usually go by quality of opposition. Then I went and I watched some video of Ernesto Mercado that I could find. There's not a lot available. I watched some of his earlier fights, and it's already early days. His career is only 10-0, but I saw him and I could see that his shots are quite wide, but he does have serious power in both hands. You could see the power. He knocks guys out. Very good power in both hands with Mercado. But the punches were rather wide. I thought a guy like Ndongeni, he'll know how to counter that. But, Ernesto Mercado, his nickname is Tito. And of course, we know Tito Trinidad, Felix Trinidad. Those of you around about my age, or maybe a little bit younger, can still remember Felix Trinidad, that great welterweight and junior middleweight champion. That had the fights of Oscar de la Hoya and that epic fight with Fernando Vargas, one of Puerto Rico's great fighters. So if you take on a nickname like that, you must be confident in yourself. And Felix Trinidad was a guy who could knock people out, and with both hands had serious power, but carried up weight. And he also had a penchant for being knocked down, but he always got up and won most of his fights. So Ernesto Mercado is even new Tito. So I watched more recent fights of him, and he knocked out hammering Henry Lundy in one round. Now we all know Lundy, he's fought basically everybody there is to fight. He's a sort of a journeyman gatekeeper type. But, when Mercado fought him, he has already been stopped once, and he was stopped afterwards, and I believe he's now retired. And so you go with most of the opponents of Ernesto Mercado. Promoter once told me it's when you fight the guys. They must still have a name, but they must already be a bit, they must already have miles on the clock. So you can see that normal matching pattern of a prospect on Ernesto Mercado, but he fights the guys when they're a little bit on the downside, but he's only 10-0. So I think against Ndongeni, as I've said, it takes a big step up in class. Can he take that step up in class? Will Ndongeni put him in his place? So obviously, as South Africans, we just had Sivenati Nonchinga defending his world title there in the Eastern Cape successfully. We're all rooting for Xolisani Ndongeni. He's from the same East London area. He's from Duncan Village, I believe. And can he do it? Now, on paper, when I looked at this fight, I thought, Ndongeni's got a good chance here. You should put this guy in place. And then when I watched the early fight, I thought, there's gaps there. But you could see the power. It made me a bit worried. And then I watched these two more recent fights, and you can see with Ernesto Mercado, his stance is a bit wide, but he's cleaned up the gaps in his defense. He gets out of the way of punches, and he's a lot more tighter than he was. He throws his punches accurately, and he's got serious power. And that is what worries me now about our man Xolisani Ndongeni's chances there. So I think it spells trouble for Nomeva, unfortunately. I think this 10-0 youngster can really, really punch. And that is my worry. For Nomeva, I think he's going to have to, if I look, I don't have a reach of Mercado, but I see he's taller, so I think Nomeva is going to be at a height and reach disadvantage. And if he wants to beat this kid, he's going to have to take him places where he's never been before. So he's going to have to box, weather the early storm, and punish him. So for Nomeva, he's going to have to show him angles. He's going to have to look for the counters, and he's going to have to find a way not to get hit. Because the eye test that I see when I look at the tape of Ernesto Mercado, there's serious power in the right hand, to the body and head, also on the left hand. Very good uppercuts that this kid throws. So he's got power everywhere he throws. Now the thing is, can he take it? So I always say if a chin is untested, go and test it early. Because against a power puncher, you can outbox the guy, and you can hope you get the decision if you're fighting on the road. And you have to really be on point for 12 rounds because you don't want to get caught. Or you can take him out before his power becomes a factor. So if I am Nomeva, I try and hit him with something early, see what happens. If he doesn't budge, it's on to box, box, box. And I think he needs to make Ernesto Mercado uncomfortable and come on in the late rounds, because the chin is untested. We don't know what he's going to do when everything's not going his way. My problem is I see the Prince Lomo fight, that knockout out of nowhere that Ndongeni suffered, and it worries me a little bit. He didn't face a puncher since then, and once the chin gets cracked, you never know. So I kind of think, Devin Haney was a much higher level fighter than Mercado is at now, but Devin Haney is not really a big puncher, so he's in against a puncher. And I don't know if Xolisani Ndongeni can stay away from this guy for all of the rounds. So I'm going to go with Bernardo Mercado. I'm rooting for Xolisani Ndongeni, but you guys, I have to call it like I see it. I can't call it just for the guy that I like. I think Xolisani Ndongeni represents a step up for Mercado. He is in with a chance, but I see that power of Mercado and the way he places it. I don't know how he will deal with the angles that Ndongeni will maybe give him. But I think it will be a good fight while it lasts. But I just think Ernesto Mercado is going to catch Ndongeni at some point and stop him. So I think I'm going to go with Ernesto Mercado here for a stoppage somewhere in round 8. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope, as I thought initially when I just looked on the records at paper, that Xolisani Ndongeni can put him on his place and upend the prospect and be the gatekeeper there that closes the gate. But I'm not too sure. As I've said, this Mercado kid has tightened up his defense. He is a bit of a wide stance, so angles could work, but he's accurate, he hits hard, and I don't know if Xolisani's chin is going to withstand that, because he's going to get hit against this kid at some point because he's fast as well. But we are all rooting for Nomeva to prove me wrong and to come home with a win. So that's it, guys. Ka nitanda le kubo, ka ni kofe like, ne subscribe, and diabolela kakulu. Until we see each other again, de Sibonani, Sibonane, Pakamisani Izanda.